Hi, this is Arcus, the math tutor of the Education Academy Hong Kong. So today we're going to review binomial theorem in just 7 minutes, okay? So the only two things about binomial theorem is first, right, the general term, right? N chooses R times A to the power of N minus R times B to the power of R. And the second thing you need to know is the number of terms in a binomial expansion. Given a binomial expansion is A plus B to the power of N, right? It's N plus 1, okay? So today we're going to go through 5 possible types of questions that are going to be appear in the IB math exam. So the first type is to ask you to number of terms in x squared minus 5 to the power of 11. So it's 12, right? Easy peasy, right? N plus 1, which is 11 plus 1, which is 12, okay? Type number 2, finding the coefficient with an extra term outside bracket. So in recent years of IB math exam, they'd like to play some tricks on putting an extra x term outside bracket, but the thing is, right, it's just the same, right? First of all you have to do is write the general term for this binomial expansion, right? X squared minus 5 all to the power of 11, so which is 11 chooses R, right? X squared to the power of 11 minus R and then times negative 5 to the power of R, right? So after simplification, you will have 11 chooses R, x to the power of 22 minus 2R times negative 5 to the power of R, right? So if you want to find the coefficient of x7, which means you're going to find the coefficient of x to the power of 6, right, for this binomial expansion. So that means 22 minus 2r must be equal to 6, and 2r equals 16, r equals 8. So therefore, the coefficient of x to the power of 7 would be 11 chooses 8, right, and then multiplied by negative 5 to the power of 8, right? Okay, so type number 3 is to find a constant term. So whenever we see the word constant, right, that means we are actually finding the x to the power of 0 term. So first step, the same, right? Write down the general term first, right, which is 10 chooses R, x squared to the power of 10 minus R, and then times negative 5 over x squared to the power of R, right? So therefore, you have 10 chooses R, x to the power of 20 minus 2R, and then negative 5 to the power of R, and then x to the power of negative 2R, right? And that is because now this x squared term is actually in the denominator, which means we can put the index to be negative, right? So collect the like terms, it equals 10 chooses R, x to the power of 20 minus 4R, and then negative 5 to the power of R, right? So since we are finding x to the power of 0 term, that means 20 minus 4r equals 0. That means r equals 5. So therefore, the constant term would be 10 chooses 5, and then negative 5 to the power of 5. Okay? All right, type number 4 is actually doing the same thing, but now they try to make some comparison, right? Coefficient of a certain term is n times the coefficient of another term, right? So for the question, right, given the same binomial expansion, right, now the coefficient of x to the power of 4 is k times the coefficient of x to the power of 8, and then you have to find the value of k, right? So since we have the same general term, so to save some time, I've already put down the general term right here. So that means now you have to solve for the corresponding value of r for the coefficient of x to the power of 4, right, and coefficient of x to the power of 8. So 20 on the left, right, is 20 minus 4r equals 4, which is 4r equals 16, r equals 4, and on the right is 4r equals 12. That means r equals 3. Okay, so that means 10 chooses 4 times negative 5 to the power of 4 is k times, right, 10 chooses 3 times negative 5 to the power of 3, right? And then the rest of the steps is basically solve for k, right? So I'm not going to waste time for this, right? So that's type number 4. And then the last type of binomial expansion, right, they mix the usage of general term with inequality, right? So now, given the binomial expansion, right, x squared minus k over x squared all to the power of 10, the coefficient of x to the power of 4 is greater than a certain number, right? In this question, it's greater than 640, and then you have to find the value of k, right? So again, first step, you write the general term, right? You see basically for every single type, except type 1, you find the general term first, right? So therefore, right, to simplify this, so it's 10 chooses r, x to the power of 20 minus 2r, and then negative k to the power of r, and then x to the power of negative 2r. so which is 10 chooses r, x to the power of 20 minus 4r, negative k to the power of r, right? So now we're going to find the coefficient of x to the power of 4. That means 20 minus 4r equals k, r equals 4, right? So therefore, now we have the inequality 10 chooses 4 times negative k to the power of 4 is greater than 640, right? So if you plug in the calculator, it's 210 k to the power of 4, 640, right? Which means you have this right now. Right? So when you solve for the inequality using the sign diagram, remember you should have two answers, right? Because when you take the fourth root, right, it could be positive or negative. And since the question did not specify the value of k, so therefore you should have the plus or minus value, and k would be greater than the positive value or k smaller than the negative value, right? So if you have any questions or you want to get the notes, right, please click the link below so that you can get the document for full solution. Okay,